of the 2002 Olympic Winter Games, now host to a summer sport as the nation's best gymnasts are in the Maverick Center. With 3 men from the Tokyo Olympic team setting their sights on the next 2 years as the Paris Games loom large in men's gymnastics. Welcome inside the Maverick Center as NBC Sports welcomes you to the 2022 U.S. Classics. I am John Roethlisberger, and for the second day in her broadcasting career as an analyst, I am joined by Olympic champion Laurie Hernandez. Hey, Laurie, great to be with you again. Talk a little bit about the U.S. Classic. We saw the women compete, now the men. What does this competition mean?
Yeah, so this competition for the men out here competing today, it's like the quiz before the test. They have a chance to throw out all these new skills, lots of high difficulty that we're going to see today that for a lot of these athletes, they've never competed before. So exciting stuff.
A qualifying meet to the U.S. Championships for some, a trial for some, like Laurie had mentioned right there. Unfortunately, coming into warm-ups, one of the guys that we had been looking at to do great things, a favorite here and possibly at the World Championships, Paul Judah, but he had an injury.
Yes, unfortunately, it looks like he landed on a straight leg during a combination pass. We don't know the extent of his injury. We don't know what it is, but unfortunately, he is fully scratched from the competition today.
And that is a heartbreaker. Paul's gymnastics has never been better than it was here at this competition. I talked to Brett McClure, who's with USA Gymnastics, and said he's such a big team player. He will be missed today, certainly, hopefully not for a long time. But we do have a couple of favorites. Couple Olympians. Brody Malone, he is the defending national champion, Olympian from Tokyo. He is an amazing athlete, certainly the next generation of great U.S. gymnasts on the men's side. He's got a teammate here as well. Wiskus is also competing the all-around today. He is out of the University of Minnesota, now training at the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, and he will also be doing the all-around. We anticipate a little battle between Shane and Brody for that all-around title today. So rotation 1 has already taken place. Some of the highlights, Laurie, and there were some great ones for the Stanford team on vault. Here's Colt Walker, and he flew.
Yes, when we watched this, I think both of us were so excited. We have a front 2.5, slight hop on the landing, but overall, this is one powerful vaulter.
And Colt is your leader after the first rotation. His teammate tried to match him, same vault, front 1.5, 2.5. They called him Randy.
Oh, that height, that distance, that is exactly what you want to look for.
Riley Loos sits in 3rd place. Cameron Bach, who competed in parallel bars for Michigan, is in between those two, but here's the favorite, the prohibitive favorite this summer, even as we go into U.S. Championships. Brody Malone starts off with a nice Sugahara 2.5.
Just a hop on that landing. Overall, a clean vault. I think that was a great rotation.
So the Stanford team, they are basically most of the U.S. national team. They train together, and they will be fun to watch today. As we mentioned, Colt Walker in the top spot, Cameron Bach. We started on the parallel bars, a great event for him. Hit there, he is in number 2 spot. Riley Loos, Cole Young, and Brody Malone, 4 of the top 5 right now from Stanford University. As I mentioned, Laurie, Stanford has 7 gymnasts that are competing as part of a national team here at this U.S. Classic, and one of their national team members, Curran Phillips, is not competing here. So they have 8 members of the U.S. national team. And I talked to somebody earlier this season about Stanford as we were in the middle of the collegiate season, and they told me, you know, if Stanford put together their own world team, they could probably be a top 6 team at the World Championships. That is how good they are and how deep they are.
They're like the Avengers.
Here they are, and we talked to Brody, as you see him bottom left of your screen, about that training group. And how nice would it have been, Laurie, to go to the gym every day and know that I know how good the other guys in the U.S. are. I train with most of the national team. It's got to be quite an atmosphere.
Yeah, there's definitely something really special about being at any sort of national team training camp, or when you get to go and train with other high-level athletes. It's really motivating, and I think for them, it gives them a bit of a challenge when you're starting to see what other people are doing and sometimes how high their difficulty is. It's going to push you to do a couple more turns, you know?
And Brody Malone, the leader of that Stanford team and really the leader of Team USA right now. Colt Walker, his teammate, moments ago on the parallel bars. We saw that amazing vault. Was the leader after one rotation. Men obviously have 6 events, so it is a long road, a lot of gymnastics ahead. But let's take a look at Colt.
If I didn't know any better, I'd think that was a photo.
Yeah, tight as you can be on those handstands. So important. Little wobble right there. Tough skill. Giant Makuts, that's called. You cannot hit the rail, though, with your body. That will be a significant deduction. But just impressed that he could stay on the bars and keep it moving. Beautiful skill from one end to the other. That's called the Bobzar, named after U.S. Olympic medalist Raj Bobzar. We will see a number of those throughout today's competition. A lot of value in that skill. That's how you want to finish.
Oh, don't you just love a stuck dismount? What a way to button the end of a routine.
And that was, oh, and he's got the fruit snacks too. You know you reward yourself with a great parallel bar routine with some fruit snacks, but that was a great set. He debuted a 16.5 start value at the Pan Am Games. His coach, Tom Galimi, told me he did the Healy rib dance, which if you're in men's gymnastics, that means you missed a hand and the parallel bar rail just bounced up your ribs at the Pan Am Games. I had mentioned that to him before the competition today. He goes, that's accurate. That is accurate. But he didn't today. Look good. Now here we go with Tokyo Olympian Shane Wiskus. It'll be fun to watch this little battle between Brody and Shane, but don't count out the other Stanford guys. They're going to be in this battle for the all-around as well. Oh! Not how he wanted to start. Very difficult opening pass. And that is a new opening pass for Shane, trying to upgrade, and that is going to be the theme we're going to talk a lot about, Lori, is upgrading the difficulty for the men.
Yes, we're going to see, out of bounds. We're going to see a lot of new skills that some of these athletes have never competed before, and I think Classics is the perfect opportunity for them to try these out in a high-pressure situation before championships this year.
Shane started his competition on high bar, but that put him in 6th place coming into the second rotation. This floor routine is not going to help those standings, unfortunately, with those mistakes. New sequence for Shane right here. He's going to do a front 2.5 twist. A very tough skill, especially late in the routine.
And with nothing in front of it.
Ends with a triple full. Not the routine he wanted, but again, you said quiz before the test. He's got one of those routines in competition on the podium under his belt, which how much do you think that helps him when you go to championships in a month or so?
Honestly, even performing a routine with a fall, more experience is better than none at all. So he's going to be able to remember how he felt and bring this into his next competition.
And this is so tough. A 2.5 twist to punch double front. I believe, did he clip his toenails or not is the question. If he did, he's in. Double for the second pass. Did you ever think you'd see a double just out of a round off?
Honestly, no.
And more and more lately, we are seeing gymnasts skip the back handspring. I remember I did a double and I would run as hard as I could and do everything I could to muster up enough steam for a double, and he made it look casual. So Coy Young on parallel bars moments ago. Coy started off on vault. He was 4th place after the first rotation. Head coach at Stanford, Tom Galimi, talks very highly of Coy. So much talent. Little trouble. Coy's been battling a little bit of a wrist injury, so he's backing off a little on difficulty here and there today's competition.
I could not imagine doing P-bars with a wrist injury.
Yeah, parallel bars and pommel horse are not easy on that part of your body for sure.
Not wrist friendly.
Beautiful double pike. Another stuck landing for Team Stanford.
Gave a little fist bump after that.
Score 14.4, execution in the high eights. Very good on that front. He's capable of a little more difficulty there, but again, doing what he needs to do. Thumbs up from Coy, though. Colt Walker, by the way, 15.86 for his parallel bar score. Shane Wiskus still waiting for his score. We will have that and more when we come back. Shane Wiskus on floor exercise, a 12.366, but something to watch about and we'll talk about today is the bonus at the bottom. The men's program has instituted a bonus to incentivize the athletes to start at a higher difficulty level. So they don't have as much risk. They want to start at higher levels, Lori, because that's the modus operandi for the men, higher start values, and that bonus there is an incentive to do so.
Yes. We're going to see Cameron Bach in just a second, but when we spoke with all of these guys a few days ago, a really common theme that we were seeing was that they were all connecting with each other on how important difficulty is. Also, speaking with Fred is quite interesting because you asked him, okay, give me something different, and he said hitting in a high-pressure situation is exactly what we need.
After the first rotation, Cameron Bach was second all-around, and here he is moments ago on the horizontal bar. Big release right here, the Go-X! And just pulls it over the bar a little bit too far. Cameron Bach, it's a 12.65, unfortunate fall. Also is gonna lose difficulty. Anytime you fall in the sport of gymnastics, you not only get a 1-point deduction for the fall, but you also lose the value of the skill you attempted. And that one is not going to keep Cameron Bach in second place. So we're going to talk a lot about Brody Malone, and he is a great gymnast, Lori, but you know what? He had a career before gymnastics, right?
We've been calling it the Brodeo.
Here he is riding a bull, and look at the style points from Brody Malone. I mean, but the dismount here, Lori, can you give this a score? Oh, we didn't get the dismount. The dismount was not pretty.
It wasn't user-friendly.
It was maybe the reason his dad told him, you're done with rodeo. His dad was in the rodeo, his brother did rodeo, and it was fun to talk to him about it. We bring it up, and he kind of gives you the eye roll because everyone asks him about it.
It's because we call it the Brodeo.
Here, maybe we'll get to see that. Hold on, here's the dismount.
Oh, boy.
We're going to go for a level of execution here. Oh, we're leaning right. And that right there, I think, is a 1-point fall. Is that not?
I'm going to go ahead with that and complete less in difficulty.
So here we go. Brody Malone on parallel bars. He's got a new routine, a new dismount, a double front instead of a double pike. He's going to start at a 16.2. At least that's his plan. Let's see how close to that he can get. Beautiful beginning. Those hand movements, he stepped forward and then backward. That is a 1/10 of a point each direction. That's new in his routine, that front 1 1/4.
Something really special about that routine.
Machine-like.
Yes.
And that's what I noticed about Brody last year at the U.S. Championships is he didn't seem like the moment was too big for him. You know, whether it's the U.S. Championships, the trials, the Olympic Games, the World Championships, He's just very methodical. It seems like him and the equipment, right?
Yes.
And that's where your head needs to be.
I'm feeling a bit of a connection to in women's artistic when I watch athletes like Kyla Ross or Kara Eaker on beam. There's this coolness. It's really peaceful to watch, and I feel Brody has that on P-bars.
Back uprise front toss. And here's the new dismount. Higher difficulty value for the double front. And that little hop.
What a shot.
Yeah, this is great angle. Give you an idea of the margin for error on the side right there. That elbow just clears by an inch or two, and Brody does Brody things. Hits another routine.
When we were chatting with Yul the other day, he mentioned that Shane and Brody are the dads of the group.
Let's go, Al.
Which I found hilarious because Yul is older than both of them.
Yul Moldauer, another member of that Tokyo Olympic team that is competing today. I haven't had a chance to see him yet. Score for Brody Malone, a 15.221. He gets a .221 bonus. 8.9 in the execution.
Let's go out.
There is Yul. He started things off on the horizontal bar in today's competition. Didn't go as he had hoped, but he did, again, try a new routine there. That an event, Lori, where he is really trying hard to upgrade that difficulty.
Yeah, when we were watching him, he caught really far on his fingertips, but it also just goes to show the height and the power he has while he's swinging.
Moments ago on the parallel bars, Loos, who just competed at the Pan American Games as well. Apparently in Brazil, they referred to him as Really Loose when they announced his name, which that's not the name you want to have as a gymnast, Really Loose. But this is Riley. Should have a 15.8 start value here. Again, another contender, honestly. We talk a lot about Brody, but this is a guy that can push for an all-around title as well. Very difficult peach to one bar, right to the Healy twirl, that's called. Gotta watch the feet as they do those long hang swings under the bar. They can't touch the ground. I believe he did. A little sloppy on these last skills. Taking some steps with the hands. Can't do that. Oh, man, a little stiff landing.
Worried about his
double
knees
front
a bit. You know, you always want to land on bent legs, so got a stiff landing. That can be a little nerve-wracking. He's got a 13.9.
Did start at that 15.8, as we mentioned. That will put him in third after 2 rotations. So 2 rotations done. A lot of great gymnastics ahead here from Salt Lake City.
Hi.
The 2022 U.S. Classic is brought to you by American Cruise Lines. Small ship cruising done perfectly. By Angie. Angie's List is now Angie. For home projects big and small, get the Angie app today. UFOS, recovery footwear. Feel the ooh. Standings after the second rotation. Colt Walker holding off his teammate Brody Malone. Nice little back and forth between those two. Colt Walker, outstanding parallel bar team. Riley Loos, Coy Young, and Taylor Burkhart. It is a Stanford party here in Salt Lake City. 2 names that we did not see on those standings list. Yul Moldauer, who's not doing all around today, but an Olympian in Tokyo. Certainly some great things. Started off on high bar, didn't go quite as he planned.
Unfortunately, Yul did have a fall on high bar, but as we've mentioned quite a few times, all these athletes are testing out difficulty. Here he goes.
And that is a new skill for Yul. And not a great feeling.
No, not a great feeling, especially a peel on a release.
That is a tough, just a triple twisting double layout. And I tell you what, he did his job there. He tried his new routine, and that is a tough sequence, but hopefully it'll pay off at championships. Another guy that is someone we're excited to see, Fred Richards. He is a junior turning senior. and he started off on Pommel horse. Also had some struggles there, but man, it doesn't change the excitement we have for this young man.
Yes, unfortunately, he did have a fall on pommels, but his flow, rhythm, and quality is just mesmerizing.
But you watch him swing, and he has got the quality of greatness. He's not going to be happy with that, but we're going to see some great stuff from him later here in Salt Lake. A lot more to come. We are back. Yul Moldauer getting ready to go on Pommel horse. Obviously trouble on his first event. The high bar did not compete floor exercise, not doing all around today, but this event for Yul, it's a human highlight reel, Lori.
Yes, he has such incredible flare work, and it's something that everyone's going to see in just a moment. He mentioned to us before, and I quote verbatim, "Just because you fall once doesn't mean it's over." He's all about mental toughness and about connecting with himself. So let's see how he does.
Really tough skill. Oh, and that is unfortunate. It is supposed to go back down into flares. It's called a Busnari. You see a lot of gymnasts taking the risk of that skill, worth a lot of points, but you have got to be so precise. But just enjoy this flare work. World class. Good fight to stay on.
Look at that flare work.
Gotta have enough juice to get the handstand up. And a great finish, and you can see the beauty in that routine. Again, unfortunately, he broke it into 2 routines today, but
the Busnari is something that I'm noticing a lot of athletes are trying out, as you mentioned earlier. Steven Nedorosik said he would be trying that out as well.
here's a look at it. So pirouettes down the horse, and right here he's supposed to come back into flares. But again, you can't bring that one back on if you are off.
Yul had mentioned that Pommels is similar to the balance beam.
Margin of error not very big, but the flare, look at the extension, the hips above the horse. He did say the flare work aggravates his hips once in a while, which I guess I could understand. But they feel good this weekend. You mentioned one thing about Yul that I've always noticed, and obviously he had 2 mistakes back-to-back here, but in the big moments, when he's doing all around in big spots, he does have that poise. He can have a mistake, and wow, his ability to bounce back and get refocused. But that being said, when he is on, he is as good as anybody in this country as an all-arounder.
I noticed him kind of rolling out his head a little bit, shaking his shoulders. He and his coach did mention that he's got a bit of a knot in his neck that he's been dealing with during practice.
So Yul Moldauer is waiting for his score. Now the world's best. I was about to say one of the best, but this, and he even said it has a nice ring to it. Steven Nedorosik is the world champ on pommel horse. Got that done last fall. Quite an accomplishment for that young man. He is trying an incredibly difficult pommel horse routine. We are told he's going to try a 17-1 start value. He has not been able to train as much as he wants. He's battled wrist and elbow injuries, so his endurance is not great, but he said he's going for it. Oh, and the Busnari takes another one, unfortunately.
Cool as a cucumber.
So he's, again, not a lot on the line for Steven Nedorosik here. The point for him was to come in here and try that new skill. He looked over at his coach and asked about the Busnari, should he do it again? And you saw him shake his head no. That right there, he said he's doing as well. An H flop, an H value, you're pretty deep in the alphabet. Worth a lot of points. running out of gas, and that is the problem when you can't train as many reps as you want. Endurance.
Incredible save to keep that momentum going.
The question is, does he have enough left for the dismount? Come on. Wow, what a fight from the world champ. He's got his rec specs on. That was a Secret Santa gift from one of the seniors on his team. Back when he was on the team at Penn State, Ben Cooperman gave it to him as a gag, went, hit a great horse routine and said, well, I guess I got to wear these, and he still got them on.
There is a kicker about these, though. They aren't prescription, are they?
No, and he wears glasses.
But he did mention he's close enough to be able to see what he needs to see, but at the end of the day, he is feeling everything out.
Flopson was like, hang on tight, baby, hang on tight.
We mentioned the Busnari takes another victim. Again, it looked like he made a mistake on the same side of the horse as Yul, coming off the side towards the camera.
This little cheeky grin.
Yep. Didn't get away with that one. And here's the H flop. He does 3 Russians around on the pommel. Anytime you see a gymnast camp out on one pommel, that is worth a lot of points.
Let's get it, Shane.
You know, when you're putting together a world championship team or an Olympic team, you think, oh, you got to have guys that do multiple events or do the all-around to cover all the events. But when there's 3 up, 3 count, like you have at the World Championships and Olympics, meaning 3 gymnasts per event, all 3 scores count, you could put a guy like Steven in just on that event because he adds so much just with that one routine. Shane Wiskus getting ready to go. Steven's score was a 14.743, so that's actually still a really good score because he got so much of that bonus that we've been talking about. Here we go with Shane, tough floor routine in the second rotation, trying to rebound. It'll sit on the horse there. Can't do that. That's a new skill, the Tong Fei, from one end to the other. Again, the fight from these guys, impressive. Stay on.
A hit routine, that matters.
Sometimes that is the battle on pommel horse, like balance beam for the women, I would assume. You stay on, you always got a small victory.
Oh yeah, it's relieving to be able to hit a nice routine, especially when the pressure counts. You can put that under your belt for the next competition, grab a little more confidence from that.
Yul Moldauer, the first gymnast to go on pommel horse in this rotation, a 12.2. We'll see what Shane gets here in a little bit. Brody Malone getting ready to go on the horizontal bar. An event at the Olympic Games, Lori, where gold was so close. He was doing a perfect routine right until there. And he went the wrong direction. That's called a full talk. He tried to do it too perfect. Went the wrong way, but redemption at the World Championships.
A Worlds, he does go the right way, keeps it moving. Comes that dismount, stuck landing, fantastic routine.
Gets the bronze medal on the horizontal bar. He said that high bar final at the World Championships, he said that was a doozy, and I got to see that one firsthand, and it was an incredible battle, and good to see Brody get a little redemption.
He said it tends to keep him up at night. He still thinks about it.
This is a big routine here. He's scheduled to start at a 16.3. Big Casina. Laid out full twisting double back over the bar. He's got another one in the tuck position.
Ooh, that was on the fingertips.
And that is exactly where you want it. Big sequence here. 3 in a row.
Monster releases.
Now I can relax, right? There's the full top that he made the mistake at the Olympic Games. Gets it done. Those skills need to be right to a handstand.
That was a beautiful routine. Wow.
Tom Galimi, his coach, that you saw him give 5 to there in the background, said he's quiet but tenacious about Brody, and I think that would be exactly what you see from him. I mean, he got down and that was just business, right?
These releases have my jaw on the floor. The height that he gets on these.
That is the second one, called the Coleman, a tucked full twisting double back over the bar, but this.
And then again, and then again. Wow.
Here's a great look at how precise you have to be. You can see the dowels in the grips, those little round rubber pieces help you hang on to the bar. You got to get them over the bar if you want to have any hope of hanging on.
And I love that you can see this high bar bouncing and pulling up and down. It shows that he's really using the equipment to his benefit rather than trying to do all the work himself. Truly, I think that's why he goes so high.
But you got to stick that, right, Lori?
You got to stick that.
I mean, he
landing.
saw the floor coming from a mile away.
John, you know I love a stuck landing.
Let's go out. Let's go out.
Brody Malone on the horizontal bar, a 16.016. A huge score, but that includes a 1.116 in bonus. That's going to be tough to beat. This was Cameron Bach earlier in the competition, 6th place after 2 events. Great start on parallel bars, tough on the horizontal bar. Came off of that event. Wow, just
That was
held
quite the
on.
squat, but he's a fighter.
That is a new sequence, that front full to double front for him.
He mentioned his strategy for classics this year. He's going to try everything here and then may take a few things out for championships and hit those clean routines.
Cameron had quite the last 12 months. Back in October, he actually dislocated his elbow, which is a pretty gruesome injury. However, didn't require surgery. They got it put back in. Was out without any upper body work for 2 to 3 months. Came back, injured his back, had to come back from that as well. But he is in much better shape now than he was during the college season. Beautiful triple twist to finish.
Bit of a leg separation and form breaks at the end of that, but that is a solid hit routine.
So way to come back for Cameron Bach after that disappointing high bar routine, 13.8. Thought it might have been a little higher than that, 8-1 execution. Those judges, they find a way.
Yeah.
They like plucking deductions wherever they can find. If they see it, they're going to take it. They're not going to be very lenient. These are extremely high-level athletes.
Your leader after the last rotation was Colt Walker. He's got to follow that high bar routine from Brody Malone. Brody Malone just behind him in 2nd place coming into this rotation. He's at 14.38 to catch his teammate as it stands right now. His high bar routine starts at a 15.6. And I'll tell you, if he does as scheduled at the 15.6, it is tough to score within a point and a half of your start value on high bar. So it's a tough row for him to hoe, and he got a little error there on the full top. Got to almost be perfect. Big release here. It's the Coleman, beautifully done.
Sticky hands right on the bar. A little close on the Kovac, but he keeps it moving.
You are allowed to do 3 similar release moves. We saw Brody do 3 Tkachev skills, those backward skills over the bar. But they have to be in succession if you're going to do 3. He did 2 separate there. Struggled a little bit. It's not going to be enough, in my opinion, to get back in that top spot. But you see the deep breath coming off that routine, and that's when you're happy is behind you.
Yeah, and you know, with every event, everybody has their specialties, their strengths, their weaknesses. And so where you may lack in one event, you could definitely pull that up within the others. So you always got to wait till the end of the meet and see what people come through with.
It is a Stanford party here in Salt Lake City, the top of the standings. All Stanford Cardinals. We'll see if it's the same as we head into rotation 3. The halfway point of this U.S. Classic here in Salt Lake City. Brody Malone, as expected by many, to be atop the standings. Coy Young, Cameron Bach, Taylor Burkhart, Riley Loos round out the top 5 currently. We are joined by the high performance director of USA Gymnastics, Brett McClure. Brett, thanks for joining us today. Brett, tell everybody, what does that long title mean? What's your role with USA Gymnastics and specifically the men's program?
Well, I basically oversee the whole national program from the junior through the senior, run all the national team camps, help the guys prepare for world championships, Olympic games, make sure we're on target to be competitive with the rest of the world.
You just got back from Pan Ams in Brazil. Can you elaborate on that experience?
Oh my God, it was unbelievable. You know, we had a lot of great performances, a lot of rough performances. 3 on 3 count. You don't get to practice outside the Worlds or Olympic Games, and we definitely had all the drama. Up by 4 or 5 points going into the last event, and had a couple mistakes, and now we're looking like, hey, we may lose this. And had to hit routines, you know, on the last 2 guys, and it was such a pressure cooker. It was really important for them to experience that and, you know, see what they could do and what they're made of.
What did that do for Team USA, do you think? You know, the men, when I was on the team, you guys won some medals when you were on the team, but it seems to go through this, what do we do about the men? How do we get the men on the podium? That was a gold medal performance against a tough Brazilian team. How important was it?
It's extremely important. Like I said, you don't get an experience the 3 up 3 count very often unless you're there. And so to have that opportunity, it was awesome.
We're going to talk more with Brett when we start the 4th rotation. Don't go away. Brody Malone may be the present for USA Gymnastics, but Fred Richards, undoubtedly the future of the sport of gymnastics and Team USA. And it started at an early age for Fred, literally in the crib. Get a load of this. Doing a hand, I mean, that was better than the handstand I had when I first turned elite, I'm pretty sure. He did say, though, at age 2 he went to gymnastics. They kicked him out because he was too wild. Had to come back at 4 years of age.
Aww.
Brett, when I say the name Fred Richards to you as the high performance director of USA Gymnastics, what does that mean?
Fearless. I mean, you just saw it in the crib.
How big a factor do you think he's going to be in the next few years? He's someone, obviously, to watch.
He is going to be one of the guys to challenge for World Olympic teams for years to come.
So Brett said when he hears Fred Richards, he thinks fearless, and he certainly is a confident young man. Brett, feel free to jump in and play analyst here during this Fred Richard Parallel routine.
All right, so far it's a pretty good routine. Slight wobble on his Makoots, but nice rhythm.
We talk a lot about difficulty for Team USA and how important it is to raise that difficulty level. A young athlete like this, just turning seniors, where does he fit in as far as those start values are concerned?
He's in the top 5. Right now we're hovering between a 94 and a 96 for our top 5 guys, and he's pushing it.
Beautiful double front to finish. Rory likes those stunt landings, right?
Always gonna get giddy over stuck landing.
And just to expand on that, you said 94 to 96 for your top guys, and that's all their events, the start values combined, correct?
That is correct, yes. And we're looking for a 16.0 average. And Fred is already pushing that. You know, even in 8-skill routines he did a couple weeks ago in Brazil, he's got a really high start value.
And Brett brought something up interesting. Juniors do skill routines that the top 8 skills are counted towards their start value. When you go to seniors, you count the top 10 skills, which is a big jump, a big adjustment, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. People might say, you know, the only 2 more skills, it's a big deal if they're worth an E or an F or even a D or a C. It's really taxing and it's really difficult to have the endurance to get it done.
Lori loved Fred's quote, though, when we were talking about Brody, right? So share that one with Brett.
Yeah, well, I mean, they both sat down together in our little interview huddle, and I quote, "Brody does a great job of leading, but he better be ready." So Fred's got a lot of confidence in what he can do, and I feel like that's not something that we see really often, and it should be celebrated. It wasn't like cockiness, but it was, in a sense, this confidence and belief in himself, and I like that. I love that, actually.
You think that's something Team USA needs?
Absolutely. It's healthy, a little inter-team competition, trying to push the guys up to the next level. I mean, we need it. We need more difficulty, and this kid's coming in at 18 years old, already in the top 5. You know, that says a lot.
And obviously having a mix of veterans, but you always need that youth, right, to push the top a little bit.
Absolutely. It's been such an exciting year, having a lot of new guys step in, and now they have a great opportunity here at the U.S. Classic to continue to push that difficulty. We had a 6-point gap with China, Russia, Japan at the Olympic Games, and I feel like we're closing it.
Yul, the veteran, having some words with Fred Richard after that parallel bar routine. Fred Richard, a 14.355. He did get 0.105 bonus for his start value on that event.
Let's go, Justin.
Nice job from the youngster. Always nice to get some support from the old guys, right?
Always.
Good.
So 6th place after the last rotation was Loos from Stanford. And just to correct those all-around standings, after the last rotation, Brody Malone from Stanford, Colt Walker, Coy Young, so Stanford in the top 3, then Cameron Bach, Taylor Burkhart, and Loos rounding out the top 6.
Now this is a great routine for Riley. He's really solid on the landings here.
It's common to have a handful of athletes that, you know, if you put them up on an event, you have a lot of confidence that you can trust them and that you can count on them to hit a good routine. What athletes are those for you that you see for now?
In a pinch, you need somebody. Who's it going to be, basically?
Well, you know, Riley was that guy on this event in Brazil. We have quite a few guys that are pushing 16.0 plus start value. He's a little bit lower, but you know you're going to get a hit out of him. And, you know, it's just going to be whether or not he sticks every pass or sticks half the passes. But he's pretty solid here.
What do you have to say about the Stanford program that has, I believe, if my math is right, about 8 members of the national team? What's in the water in Northern California?
You know, greatness, the culture of greatness breeds greatness, and those guys are working hard every single day in the gym, and everybody wants to be a part of that because, you know, they want to be part of a successful team and keep pushing each other in that difficulty and raising the bar. So, you know, they're just going to continue to do it for the next few years.
Loos, nice finish to that floor routine with that triple twist. See the head coach from Stanford there, Tom Galimi. Another look at the combination pass. Front full to double front.
That was beautiful.
Triple twist. Brett, did he make this around far enough? You be the judge.
I'd say he's about 90 degrees short.
Ooh. What are they going to do on that? Half point?
Yeah, it could be anywhere from 3 to 5, but we'll see.
Those landings, they're brutal. Well, Brett, we appreciate your insight. Tom Galimi walking down there. Tom was my coach for a little while. Helped me as I went for that 2000 Olympic team.
Aww.
And he's a fun coach in the gym, right? He always keeps it light.
Absolutely. I was the assistant coach for Tom at Stanford for about 3 years before I started my head coaching career at Cal, and then the rivalry began.
And the rivalry, yeah. So that's a good little rivalry. How did that go? Because you had some good guys.
I think he won pretty much every competition against us, but we had a great time doing it.
I bet. That was the leader, Brody Malone, getting ready to go on floor exercise. So talk about the World Championships coming up this fall. Russia won't be there. A great opportunity for Team USA to maybe find their way on the medal stand.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's super hungry and motivated to get that done. We just watched Great Britain put up a huge score for their team final recently, and that's just adding more fuel to the fire. And these guys have a few more weeks, a couple months to get it done.
So a top 3 finish for the team at those World Championships, you're automatically qualified as a team to Paris, correct?
That is absolutely the #1 goal, and so we can continue to push even more difficulty the following year without worrying about qualifying to the Olympic Games.
Riley Loos, a 13.8. Now Brody Malone. He's got some new skills in this routine as well. That was good.
That was really good.
Right there, the 2.5 to double front.
Great save.
That is a new one for him as well. Does Brody get flustered? He looks just the same all the time.
You know, he's pretty even-tempered, kind of like my style as a competitor, but he does get passionate at times, and he'll let you know when it's time to turn it on.
Talk about leadership a lot, and that word gets thrown around a lot. How important, besides his gymnastics, is his leadership role for Team USA?
It's incredibly important. Sam was the rock and the leader for so many years on this men's program, and Brody was just a youngster coming up, and he immediately had to take over that role within 6 months, even at World Championships after the Olympic Games, and he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, he works so incredibly hard day in, day out, and just a great example. It's really not too hard for him to be a leader.
You obviously referring to Sam, being Sam Mikulak, the 3-time Olympian. Most gymnastic fans know who he is. Here's the 2.5 double front, Lori.
I'm a little surprised he was able to save that.
We call that savvy.
Ooh.
The opening pass, front full to double pike front.
He had that lift on that second flip. You don't see that often on double fronts, but for his.
And I love this because I talked to the judges before the meet about this skill, and basically your head has to be a hand's width. Like if you can put a flat hand under his head, it can't be any higher than that. That was pretty good. They did say, though, if you have longer hair, it helps. Brett, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate the info. Good luck at the upcoming World Championships.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Brody Malone will be your leader when we come back. And Brody Malone, as I said, will move into first place, and he does with that 14.466 for him. Cameron Bach was in the top 5 coming into this rotation. Unfortunately, going to the pommel horse has been tough for the athletes today, and it was tough for Cameron Bach as well. Very tough skill from one end to the other right there. Spindle on the end. And that was, I'm going to let you say what that skill was. It's your favorite skill, Lori.
Buznari.
The Buznari gets another one, unfortunately, for Cameron Bach. But let's jump over to floor exercise. Colt Walker, second place after the last rotation, was in first place going into high bar, but gave away 3.5 points to his teammate Brody Malone. So that dropped him to second.
Let's see if he can make it up.
Ooh, that'll help. Oh, and gave some back, unfortunately. Big step, and that foot goes out of bounds.
That's going to be quite the deduction, unfortunately.
Easily could take a 3/10 step, another step in there, maybe for a 10th, maybe 3 more, then going out of bounds as much as 7 on that one landing.
That's definitely going to take a bite out of his score.
Interesting note, so he just did a double twist, perfect landing, right, Lori? But the judges could look at that and say, you know, his shoulders were a little low
His
when
feet
he
were
landed.
apart.
Even though it looked perfect, there's still the opportunity to deduct. Triple twist. That was a good routine. I'm not going to go as far as to say he is going to beat Brody's 14.466. However, it should be in that range, I believe.
Aside from that stumble of landing, that was a great routine.
And he's got a 5.9 start value, so he'll just barely get into the bonus. He will get some of that special bonus points for the high start value, but there, big step, small step for sure.
Just too much momentum going into it, and makes it very difficult to control the landing if you're flying forwards too quickly for your own.
And I know that sounds crazy, but that might be viewed as that to me is technically perfect. But from a judge's eye, those two things don't always, they don't go hand in hand all the time.
Oh, we got a wave. I always have the urge to wave back when they do that.
I was talking to the Stanford guys a little bit before the meet started. They were on vault, warming up, and you can tell it's just a fun vibe within that team. He was like, hey, you commentating today? And I'm like, yeah. And he said, well, what do you got about me? So I opened up my little book and was showing him, and he's like, yeah, that's accurate. That's good.
Look at that. You got his little photo in the front and everything.
There you go.
They do have such a great energy. You can tell that their team is intertwined, they're connected, they're all on the same page. What a great way to do a competition.
Colt Walker came out of a smaller gym club, not as nationally renowned, if you will. And Tom said he had less mileage on his body when he came to Stanford because of that. But Stanford men's team, they are the NCAA champions. It was a three-peat for the Stanford men, just dominating that NCAA championships. And talking to the coaches during the season, they all conceded before it happened. As we see Coy Young on floor, Colt Walker a 14.307. So as we said, not quite up to Brody's score, but this young man right here can fly as well. Was sitting in 3rd place coming into this floor routine.
Wow.
Looks to me like he's working on twisting that. You saw him kind of hollow his body out in the air just a little bit.
He is the exact picture of what we would call dynamic. Twisted a little early there, but a great landing.
Tom Galimi, the coach, did mention to me that he's battling some injuries, a chronic wrist injury. Also had a knee injury earlier this summer that limited him during the Pan Am selection camp, but he does speak glowingly of this athlete. He said if he's healthy, he might be the second guy on the team to beat behind Brody. There's a fist bump.
I cannot wait to see what upgrades he adds within the next few years. That's going to be an exciting watch and a name to keep in mind.
So Coy Young finishes out this 4th rotation. That floor routine trying to keep him in the top 3. His teammates Brody, Malone, Colt Walker both hit great floor routines earlier in that rotation. 2 events yet to go. Here we go. Let's look at this again. Is this the double layout? Look,
Wow.
right there. He kind of hollows out like you would do if you're twisting, right, Lori?
Yes, so more often than not, when we see double layouts, we see what we call a flare out at the end. It's kind of like a banana, a little bit of an arch, but when you have that down packed and you're starting to work on twisting that, you're gonna wanna stay a little bit straighter, a little bit tighter, so you have that momentum to twist in the air. And we saw him do that.
He likes it.
He likes it. Do you have a favorite skill in terms of tumbling that you like doing?
I used to love to do a double twist and double back. That was
Nice.
now that's elementary for these guys. Half the world can do it, but I love just going, feeling it, and hopefully sticking the landing. Stanford group, they're all going to the pommel horse. There's your leaders. The Premier League is back as the new season begins on USA. Friday at 3 Eastern, it's a London derby as Crystal Palace takes on Arsenal. Then Saturday at 12:30 Eastern, Everton heads to Stamford Bridge to face Chelsea. A lot of great soccer. You like soccer, Lori? Are you a soccer fan?
I do like soccer. I didn't play it very much as a kid, but now that I'm a tiny bit older, I like to kick it around. I'm not very good, though.
Great sport, great sport. Brody Malone, it is a Stanford inter squad here at the U.S. Classic. Brody Malone with a very comfortable lead, though, over Colt Walker. But hey, we've seen pommel horse today, and it has not been kind really to anyone. Even the world champion has not had a great day. So could Colt Walker catch Brody Malone? The next event might make that decision for us.
I think so. I mean, you mentioned earlier, we've had quite a few victims of the Buznari, and I've yet to stop thinking about it. So I'm curious to know, who is the pommel going to grab next?
Yeah, the pommel horse. The meet, like women's balance beam, the meet doesn't start till you get to beam. For the men, the meet doesn't start till you get to pommel horse. High bar maybe a little bit. But there's Colt Walker. We saw Brody. The art of chalking the armpits. Did you notice that? You gotta be chalked up under there too. You bet you didn't know that on pommel horse.
No, actually, I did not. I'm assuming it's the attempted baby powder. Like to, I don't know.
It's important because there's some sweat that takes place there, and if it's not, moving, you can have some trouble.
You know, we're all familiar with hands, especially, honestly, all 6 for men, all 4 events for women. You're going to see us using chalk left and right. The worst feeling in the world is messing up a skill because your hands are slippery, not because it was technically incorrect.
So Riley Loos was 5th place after the last rotation. He'll be the first gymnast that we will see here on the pommel horse. Has a very big 16 start value. At least that is the plan. As we know in the sport of gymnastics, not all things go as planned. If he does that 16, just to reference this bonus table for USA Gymnastics, not that scoring isn't hard enough in men's gymnastics, but the 16.0 will get him 0.349 in bonus. So that is an important thing to keep in mind. Important single leg work that fulfills a requirement on pommel horse. Break in rhythm.
Seen some,
And I tell you what, somebody needs to put a level on that pommel horse or something, because it is.
I actually have a story about this. Once we were training, and for beam, one of the gymnasts said that the beam felt a little bit off, and they put a leveler on it, and it was not right.
I tell you what, pommel horse is winning today. Got 30 seconds to remount.
He's going to compose himself, take a couple deep breaths, and then hopefully reset the brain and try again.
Make the most of that 30 seconds. He might as well.
Yes. Seen a couple leg separations in this routine. Finishes strong.
Not a great set.
Yeah.
And I think Riley would agree with that. Obviously the fall, but there was some form breaks, broke rhythm. A lot of areas where the judges can take deductions. It'll be interesting to see if he gets that 16-0 start value with the fall. But this one pommel work, it was great right up till there. That was his second time camping out on that one pommel and just lost a little speed in the circle.
In your experience, what is the moment in pommels where you realize, I'm coming down, I'm going off?
I tell you what, you fight, and there's this ability to grab a hold and pull yourself back on, but you know, those shoulders get outside of the plane of that horse too far, and it's a helpless feeling, which it did right there. You can see his shoulders coming back towards us. Still happy.
Waving back.
Stanford trying to keep a lockdown on the top 5. Riley Loos in that 5th position, as we mentioned. Riley a 12.321. Got a 5.9 start value, so a 10th low in his start value, which also cost him that bonus. So big drop there. Now your leader with a comfortable lead over Colt Walker, Brody Malone. Brody is doing a bit of a new horse routine here as well. Should start at a 16-2. That right there, new skill is called the sewn. Full 360 on one hand. Oh my gosh, that is an impossible save.
Pommels is just grabbing everybody today, but he's moving, he's not off.
Oh, what a fight.
Wow.
What a ridiculous fight. Added in this skill as well, called the Savado.
I gotta tell you, my heart is in my throat.
And that was to tip your hat to the battle. That was more of a Brodeo than a pommel horse routine right there. I think Brody would agree with us. That was like riding a bull.
Are we gonna take the rights to the Brodeo now? Is that gonna be our thing?
I think we're gonna have to call it that for sure. It was a really rough horse routine, but the beauty was in the fight. And there's the Sohn, named after Mark Sohn, a gymnast from Penn State, actually. And there's where his legs hit the horse. So his knees hit the horse, that's a deduction. Broken form is a deduction. There could be a rhythm deduction in there.
Wow.
I think it's fair to say for pommel horse, Brody's not his most natural event. You see a Steven Netarasic who's got that tiny, that skinny frame, if you will. Obviously Brody built for other events too, like the still rings, for example, and being built for one event doesn't necessarily make you built for pommel horse. And but I do have to tip my hat to Tom and Brody for the construction of his pommel horse routine. They usually give him skills that are suited to his body type and his circle style, which is very important in gymnastics.
It's also just so visually exciting to watch an athlete do a skill that looks like it was made and tailored to them. We see everybody throwing scales left and right, and of course, there's some really gorgeous stuff out there, but you know it when you see it.
And one more event to go for Brody. Shane Wiskus, we saw him earlier in the competition, had trouble on the floor exercise, but here he is moments ago on the vault. Two and a half twist. Boom! Shane on that vault, a 14.35. Shane actually injured his knee on vault earlier this year doing a double front. Landed stiff-legged a lot like we saw Paul Judah land. Wasn't any major injury, didn't need surgery or anything, but did keep him out for about 3 months, but came back in time for the Pan Am Championships. And now looking like that knee is healthy as we head in to the USA Championships. Now Fred Richard, a little trouble on pommel horse. Got through a very good parallel bar routine. Now he is on the high bar. By the way, Brody Malone on pommel horse, a 13.889, a 7.3 execution. So judges did find those deductions. fly.
We're gonna go big.
Oh my
I cannot believe he just caught that.
His fingers just grew at least a couple inches on those releases. Oh, wow. But look at the air time.
Oh my goodness.
Brett said fearless. I think this is a demonstration of fearless right here.
Yeah, no, that, I got to say, that tracks.
Just the dismount. Double twisting, double layout. Wow.
Step back on the landing, but overall, monster routine. That height.
There we go.
I had a couple heart attacks.
I mean, he was almost in the front row on that first release move.
Wow. We worry on release moves about, you know, the dowel in your grip, not fully being on the bar. I was nervous he was going to fingertip it.
Here we go. You can't get a great look at it from the side, but those dowels barely over the bar.
Even a little fingertips on the next one.
Here we go.
Right
Watch
here.
this.
Well, actually, you know, that looked pretty good.
And he just had his fingers over the bar. There was no thumb around that bar.
Yeah. Bar's so small, you want to get as much grip as you can. If you're even just a little off, that's gonna scare you.
Coming right at you, double twisting, double layout.
Beautiful form. 3/10 step on the landing, but I would love to rewatch that for the first time.
Wow. I think Lori and I are going to need a break right now just to catch our breath after that Fred Richard high bar routine.
I'm great.
Back at the U.S. Classic, Fred Richard for that high bar routine, a 14.872. Did get some bonus, 0.522. He should have got some bonus for those gadget arms that reached out and found the high bar on that release move. We're still, how's your heart rate? Is it back down?
I don't know. He's kind of like a variant of Elastigirl from The Incredibles.
Well, that was impressive. Started rough for him today, but got better on each of his 3 events. It'll be exciting to see him at the U.S. Championships here in a month or so as he competes for a senior. Interesting note about Fred, he can't compete at the World Championships this year because he competed in an international junior competition. And once you do that at an FIG international event, you no longer are eligible for that season to be a senior. So he's going to have to wait until 2023 to be eligible to compete at a World Championships. And I got to think he would have been in the mix. Hard to say if he would have made that team, but he's got some time to get himself ready for the big dance. Coy Young from Stanford, he was in 3rd place coming into the Pommel horse. Great gymnast on this event. Capable of a big start value, however, might water down a little bit. We mentioned that wrist injury that he's been battling. Capable of doing a 16.7 start value, probably going to do about a 15.8, we are told here. That means that is the highest score he possibly could get. Very nice swing. You like to see space between the legs and the body of the horse as they're swinging. That was fantastic.
Wow. Shot that arm out at the end, too.
Well done, Coy Young. 13.65. Did a 15.4 start value, so not up to what he's capable of, but again, got to keep those wrists healthy as you head into championships. Now Taylor Burkhart, he was in 4th place coming into Pommel horse. Little struggle right there.
Little hiccups in the rhythm. But he keeps picking it right back up.
Oh. Man, I'll tell you what, that's an unfortunate fall right there, but the Stanford Pommel horse rotation, and I don't think I'm going to offend Tom and his team when I say this, it's been a bit ugly. But what is amazing is, and I guarantee this is like it is in their own gym. They are fighting and battling and yelling at each other to stay on, and that's, again, that's part of what this meet is. It's to get ready for championships. And see, that left arm just gave way a little bit. Oh, wow, nice finish.
Very
Good
nice way
finish.
to button the routine.
Yep, showing some grit. Finishing that routine. When we come back, we're going to have another special guest in the booth. A 3-time Olympian. You're going to have to stick around to find out who it is. Welcome back. Standings after the 5th rotation. Brody Malone at top, but look at that. Michael Giroux breaking up the Stanford party. He moves into 4th place. So our special guest, none other than 3-time Olympian Sam Mikulak.
Hey. Sam, what have you been up to nowadays?
You know, after retiring after the last games, took a little bit of time for myself, vacationed a little bit, got to decompress, and did a little for USA Gymnastics emceeing one of our events in February for our Winter Cup, and then recently got a coaching job down in Florida, and
Congrats.
just great to be back out on the floor in a different capacity, but I like the energy, and I just knew I needed to stay involved in the sport, and glad to be here right now.
And you're coaching at this meet. Tell us how Cash, your gym is Cash. He's in 3rd place. He's right there.
Yeah, no, he's having a great day. I just want him to keep calm, cool, and collected, and just stay on the pommel horse. But we're gonna, I'm gonna keep knocking on wood real quick, because I gotta make sure this kid goes out and he just has a fun time. That's my whole philosophy throughout my career. Enjoy every moment, and then when you can do that, you can have no regrets at the end of the day.
What's it like for you coaching versus competing? Do you have that itch to still go out there?
I mean, I do, especially when I'm watching Brody do his high bar. It's like high bar was my event. But on the other side, my body is very grateful and thankful to be sitting on the sidelines just cheering, because I think being a cheerleader was one of my strong suits when I was even competing.
It looks like you're enjoying being in Florida where you're coaching, enjoying the beach. Enjoy that, Sam, but I'm just gonna leave you with one word before we go, is the word is comeback. So I just want to let that hang out there, and if you want to think about it, we would love to see it.
That's not anytime soon.
Thanks, Sam, for joining us. The #1 gymnast in the United States, Olympian Brody Malone, on the left of your screen, getting ready for his final event. Trying to be the first ever U.S. Classic all-around champion, the first time for the men that they are part of this U.S. Classic, typically a women's event. Now they've combined it, which I think is great. You competed here quite a few times, right, Lori?
I have, and it's interesting because Winter Cup used to solely be a men's competition, and we got to do Winter Cup last year for the first time. So I'm glad that each athlete between both parties are getting more opportunities to compete and showcase their new skills. If Brody were to win, this would be an incredible feat for him and something to keep under his belt, boost his confidence for the meets to come.
There will never be another first-time winner.
That is correct.
There you go. And Brody Malone in a comfortable position. About 2.5 points is his lead over Colt Walker in the 2nd spot. And I would say it is a largely academic rings, an event that gymnasts typically don't fall from, don't have major breaks. One that he's very consistent on. His start value scheduled to be a 15.9, but rings is all about strength like that right there. Got to hold those 2 seconds. That was a little short in my opinion. That shoot to invert, a relatively new skill. Little short on the hold and a little high. That'll be perfectly flat. Another legs together planche, very flat.
Small hop on the landing, but overall, John, what'd you think?
Double twist and double back to finish. It was good. His strength moves are going to have to get a little more solid. I think he knows that. A little longer hold and just a little flatter. I was talking to one of the judges, Dan Bachman, who's the meet referee before the competition, and if you're off anywhere other than perfectly flat, meaning you could be 1 degree off on a strength hold like a Maltese or a cross, and it's a 1/10 deduction. And it just goes up from there. So that gives you an idea of the level of perfection of those hold skills that you have to have. So he needs to refine those a little bit. But again, not in peak condition. Championship's a month away. Those will be better then, but he's on the right track. Swinging to handstand, a requirement on the rings as well. There's the double twist and double back.
Spots the landing really nicely.
See what he gets on the start value there. The bonus for still rings starts at a 15.7. That means if you start at a 15.7 or higher, the special bonus kicks in. Brody, as we mentioned, Brody rather mentioned, supposed to start higher than that.
How exhausting is rings when it's over?
You feel like you got the pump, for lack of a better way to put it. Your chest and arms, they have given everything in that 30 to 40 seconds that you're doing the ring routine.
Come on. Let's go.
And he does get the bonus for that 15.9 start, 14.716. And I will just tell you right now, no one is going to catch Brody Malone in the all-around. Not possible. And this is Ian Lasik-Ellis, 6th place after the last rotation. Has had a solid day across the board. Did struggle on his first event a little bit. The vault came up short on his handspring double front from that point on. Not too bad.
A bit shaky there. Here his teammates cheering him on.
Like to see those arms locked out a little bit more. Rings turned out a little more. Nice double-double. We mentioned Michael Giroux from Penn State broke up the Stanford top 5 party. So we'll see if Ian Lasik-Ellis ring routine can secure those top 5 spots for Stanford. That is Michael Giroux from Penn State. Just had a fall actually from the equipment, so as he moved up the standings, things not quite right. That is a tough skill. It's called a Peach Diamondov. Incredible level of difficulty, but the risk does not show the reward today, unfortunately.
Foot separation there.
Good finish. Quickly over to Colt Walker. Unfortunate mistake from Michael Giroux, who was looking to maybe make his way into the top 3. Now Colt Walker was in 2nd place. Right there, inverted cross. Those arms should be perfectly level. You talk about the split leaps being 180 for the women on beam. Those need to be perfectly flat. That was a deduction.
Though it's an event that seems like pretty much everyone is going to make the routine every time, those deductions in between and the quality of the routine, that's really what's going to show up when it comes to rings.
You're absolutely correct. Rings is typically an event the gymnast is going to hit, but how solid are their strength moves? How solid are their handstands? And most importantly, what happens on that landing and the dismount.
Yes.
Another great double twisting, double back, small hop backwards.
Whereas for pommels, it seems like everybody's got their fingers crossed a little bit.
Pommel horse, anything can happen. And there's the inverted cross. You can see 15 degrees, probably high. Those shoulders need to be right down at the level of the bottom of the rings. Beautiful handstand, though. That's about as good as you can do it.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
As good as you can do it, other than that hop. So Colt Walker, he's going to stay in that second spot, in my opinion. He has a comfortable lead over the third place gymnast, Coy Young. Yul Moldauer, we saw him have a mistake on the high bar. We saw a mistake on the pommel horse as well. This is a great event for Yul. Tough though, he didn't do rings, didn't do vaults. So he's been sitting around, kind of trying to stay warm and stay focused for one more routine, trying to finish on a positive note. Very nice sequence. Giant to Mikulak. We've seen that a couple times today. Oh, and the troubles continue, and that was a great set. It looked like he was going to do a Mikulak, which is you spin on one hand to one rail, as you watch right here. So he swings through the bottom, goes to one rail, and was going to do what is called a Healy twirl down. So he does another three-quarter twist down back in between the rails and just put those shoulders too far outside.
Though they're testing the waters for new skills, we're seeing lots of falls and mistakes this meet. But again, that is what Classics is for.
Big dismount, double front, half.
Sticks the landing. Ends the routine right, that matters.
Yeah, I tell you what, you mentioned it, Lori, and I love this. Come out and do hard routines. Do these new sets, new construction, new skills, and give it a shot on the big stage. And it's really a perfect scenario for these guys. Would you like to hit them? Absolutely. But there's always a few hurdles and a few obstacles on your way to perfection.
And it's worth it to try. You know, there's that feeling when you're competing. Sometimes skills feel completely different than they do at practice because of the nerves. Everything moves quicker. For me, I can't hear anything when I'm competing. The environment literally changes when I'm on the equipment. That's why it's so important to showcase these new skills for the first time wherever you can, because you gotta get used to that discomfort.
You raise your hand on the podium in front of the judges, and it's a different energy. Brody Malone is another day at the office for that man.
Wipe the sweat from his brows. We've done it.
Yul still has a little smile and a wave. He is going to be one of the leaders of this team over the next 2 years. He did tell us too, he doesn't want to just go for Paris. He wants to go for LA in 28. So a lot more gymnastics, hopefully, for Yul Moldauer. And one thing that Brett said he needs to do is just be smart about your preparation and where you compete. As you get older, that can be very critical on staying healthy and staying in shape. So we're looking forward to seeing Yul for hopefully 6 more years. Now Taylor Burkhart from Stanford on his last event. Taylor had the highest score of the meet on floor exercise a couple rotations ago. 5th place coming into this rotation. We just saw Coy Young there, 13.45 for his ring routine. He was the 3rd place gymnast. Beautiful start to that iron cross.
Such a cool name for a skill.
Appropriate. A little low on that second one, actually. Can't be low either. You gotta be in the perfect spot. Have not seen a lot of those double fronts in between the rings. The piked one called the Janssen, tucked one called the Yamawaki. A little bit of swing. Another double twist and double back. You saw a little swing at the end. They're called the still rings for a reason. Got to keep them still.
That's how they get you. Those rings, though, every time they let go and do their dismount, I'm just watching them sway back and forth, and I can only imagine just how difficult it is to truly keep them still.
That first skill called an Azarian to Iron Cross. And here's the Janssen to the Yamawaki. Little struggle on that swing to handstand. Got to keep your arms and elbows free of the straps. You don't want to see any touching. You can see his arms touching ever so slightly there. That's where he picked up the swing. A little short.
Head out. Oh, yeah.
A little short on that twist, too. So if you're missed the beginning of the competition, Paul Judah from Michigan, really one of the favorites. We anticipated the Brody Malone and a Paul Judah back and forth, but Paul Judah during warm-ups hyperextended his knee. He is in the house, and he just told us that he has no breaks in his knee, needs an MRI for the rest to see if there's any other damage potentially. We certainly aren't going to speculate on how serious it may or may not be, but the one thing we do hope is that he can get back out on that floor because Team USA needs him, and from what we're being told, he is in good spirits and optimistic about his situation. So our best wishes out to him.
The time that we spent chatting with him about this competition, he sounded so optimistic, so excited for what was to come. I gotta say, I was rooting for him. Just his positivity alone was contagious, and I think that would have read through his gymnastics.
This is Riley Loos, last gymnast to go on the still rings. 7th place coming into this rotation. Great start to the ring routine, great strength sequence, and that straight body press to handstand. So compulsory dismount for the Stanford Cardinal team, the double twist and double back. Great finish for Riley Loos. That was not really loose. That was really tight from Riley Loos. Watch this right here, though. Those back uprights to Maltese. Shoulders a little high, but watch this. Elevator up. Oh. Right to the legs together planche. Really difficult.
This is beautiful.
I'll tell you, I worked on that my entire career, Lori, and I could never do it. It was so frustrating. I thought it was the coolest skill. He just made it look way too easy. Wow. Wow. Waiting for Riley Loos's score. Brody Malone is your champ. He gets the U.S. Classic all-around title. The other part of this event, and not so much in this session because most of these athletes have already qualified to U.S. championships, but there are gymnasts trying to qualify. There's another session of men where they will try to do that as well. But for Brody Malone, he is an all-around champ. We'll see where the rest of the Stanford Cardinal fell in that top 5 when we come back. The 2022 U.S. Classic is brought to you by UFOS, Recovery Footwear, Feel the Ooh. By American Cruise Lines, small ship cruising done perfectly. And by Angie. Angie's List is now Angie for home projects big and small. Get the Angie app. So your final standings here from Salt Lake City. Brody Malone is your champ. Colt Walker, Coy Young. The top 3 all from Stanford. Michael Giroux, he stays in the top 5, breaks up the party. But another Stanford Cardinal, Riley Loos, finishes in the 5th spot. Brody Malone is with us. Brody, thanks for joining us. You win the all-around. No one ever can say they were the first U.S. Classic all-around champ other than you, so congratulations. But I know you're a perfectionist. Give yourself your own grade on how you performed today.
There were definitely a few highlights and some things that I could definitely do better. I was really happy with my P-bar and high bar routine. floor, I just kind of got through. And then the horse was kind of a struggle, but I'm just glad I stayed on.
You mentioned with us that you'd be trying some new skills today. How did you feel about competing them? And is there anything you'll change for championships?
I felt really good about competing the new skills. I did the upgraded P-bar set, and it went really well. Upgraded floor set. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it went well for where I'm at in my training process. As far as what I'm going to do at USA's, going to kind of go back to the gym and talk with my coach and see what we think moving forward.
You had a medal sweep for the Stanford Cardinal in the top 3, Brody. What's it like in that gym with half the national team every single day? It's got to be amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like training at a national team camp every single day. Words really can't describe how awesome it is and how grateful I am to be a part of that program.
How did you feel with all the difficulty that you saw today? I know from a lot of y'all, you mentioned how that is something everyone's working on.
Yeah, I didn't really get to see much of what everyone else was doing. I was trying to kind of stay to myself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But from what I did see, it seemed like guys were pushing a lot of difficulty, and that's awesome. That's what we need to do as a country if we're going to be competitive enough to get on the podium at the Olympics.
Awesome. Thanks,
Congrats.
Brody.
Yeah, thank you,
Congratulations, and good luck at championships, rather. And speaking of championships, all the top U.S. gymnasts will be back in action for the 2022 U.S. Gymnastics Championships in Tampa, August 18th through the 21st on NBC, CNBC, and Peacock. Coming up next here on CNBC is the U.S. Swimming National Championships. Congratulations to Brody Malone. For Lori Hernandez, I'm John Roethlisberger. So long from Salt Lake City.
Cheers.